It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles.
Welcome in. It's Sports by the Book here at the South Point Studio. Happy to be with you. I'm Jeff Parles. Hall of Famers galore on set today. Vinny Magliulo, Chris Andrews, alongside me. Of course, Gone Gaming for Vinny. Chris runs the joint behind us here at the South Point Sportsbook. Gentlemen, it's a football Friday.
That's right, buddy. Here we go. We're ready.
Always a good time. We will see Jimmy Vaccaro at some point today.
We will see Jimmy in the next hour.
In the next hour?
Yes.
We think for now, 3:15?
He has a couple of meetings between now and then.
Is that the spa?
No, actually, he's heading to the gift shop to get candy for the girls.
Well, okay, that is good.
He's a fine human being.
Yes, one of a kind. One of a kind, to say for the very least. All right, let's get to it, gentlemen. Football Friday. We will work in a little bit of baseball as well because you guys have the World Series exactas that we'll get to a little bit later. Right. But let's start with football. Last night, Bears into the win column for the first time in 2023. How was that result there, Chris?
Fantastic. But I got to say, we were pretty even on that game. We had a lot of stuff with teasers and money line parlays and that sort of thing going to Washington. But as far as the point spreads, we had a lot of wise guy play on the dog. And, of course, the public was on the favorite. No surprise there. My team lost 14 in a row.
Yeah.
Boy, that's hard, you know. But there was guys I like to listen to. There's certain guys I like to listen to who were saying that there was signs of improvement coming out of Chicago. And, of course, they played fairly well last week. And I got to say, Fields looked like a pro quarterback last night. And the defense played okay.
Good enough.
You know, the defense was okay. I wouldn't go overboard. But the offense really clicked. And I think a lot of it had to do with Washington not clicking. And that goes for offense and defense. How many times did this kid get sacked yesterday? I mean, they were in his face all game.
It's been a problem the whole year for Washington.
Yeah.
I mean, they win their first two. They get smashed by Buffalo and then could have beaten Philadelphia. And then that against arguably the worst team in the league coming.
Yeah, I think that coaching staff got to be looking in the mirror. And I think particularly Jack Del Rio, I think his job is definly on the line here very soon.
I would imagine, again, Eric Bieniemy, of course, comes over from Kansas City, probably with the hopes of, hey, to at least have the offense look good. If everything else doesn't look good, I'm going to get this head coaching job with the new ownership. And
they still got to protect that quarterback a lot better. I mean, he's getting beat. I saw his sack rate is worse than David Carr's, and
it's not good.
He got beat up so bad. First number one draft choice, and didn't last more than a couple years just because he got beat up so bad.
Carr was sacked 76 times in his rookie year.
Yeah, however many games. And what's the kid's name for Washington, the starter?
Sam Howell.
Sam Howell.
I'm horrible with these names. But anyway, he's been sacked at a rate, however many starting games he has, worse than what Carr went through when he was a rookie.
It was as bad as the Bills game.
It was pretty bad, yeah.
Yeah. So, but look, how about the matchup or the combination of Fields and Moore? I think Moore had over 100 yards in the first quarter, didn't he?
Well, Moore should have had 3 touchdowns last night.
We never saw that replay.
Yeah, we will never know, Chris.
Yeah.
A pretty spirited effort by the Bears, no question about it. I mean, and listen, Chris hit on it. I mean, from our side of the counter, it didn't allow Thursday night to be the jump start for the weekend. Just about every Thursday so far in that first month of the season was a jump start of the parlays, the teasers that Chrissy referenced. So a difference last night. So it was almost like a reload. Now, not that anybody did not have the Bears last night. I mean, anybody that grabbed them at 6.5 when it was available took full advantage of it. And but overall, good action and a good result.
I misspoke with Moore. That should have been 4 touchdowns for DJ
right?
Moore.
Okay.
He had 8 catches, 3 touchdowns, 230 yards receiving.
He was unbelievable.
Pretty good day at the office for DJ Moore and Justin Fields last night. Bears on into the win column for the first time, leaving Carolina as the only winless team in the NFL heading into Sunday. And based off the numbers, does not look like Carolina is going to get win number 1. But we'll get to the NFL a little bit later because we have college all the way through here. Fellas, let's start tonight. Let's start in Stillwater. Chris, it's been an ugly showing for Oklahoma State so far this year. They host Kansas State, coming off a bye for the Kansas State Wildcats. Right now, Chris, you guys are the market high on the Cats right now at 12 with 52.5 the total for this one.
Well, that's strictly with action because I thought this number. I think this number is getting a little too high myself. I made the game 8.
Oh,
so,
wow, okay.
Yeah, so I'm not, on the Kansas State bandwagon at this point. Oak State really has looked horrible. But I think this number is getting a little bit out of hand right now. But, Jeff, you got to move with your business. That's, I'm not I'm not that vehemently in favor of Oak State. And, all the money's on K-State. And, eventually they got me to 12 on this game.
Oak State, one of those schools, one of the Power 5 schools anyway, that's not benefited from the transfer portal. They've been victimized, really, when you think about it. Not everybody does benefit. I mean, it's an absolute. You've got your recruiting for your high school recruits, and we hear a lot about the 4s and 5 stars. But let's face it, this transfer portal is free agency now, and there's more of that going on than I think a lot of people had anticipated. And some schools are not benefiting from it at this point, Chris.
Well, I think you got to look at your roster and where do you have some holes maybe that a player from another team could maybe benefit from transferring in. And, the mullet hasn't done such a great job at Oak State. And, I think that, there's certain guys that have grasped this immediately. What it reminds me of is back when the three-pointer first came in college basketball. Some guys thought it was like just a gimmick and really ignored it, and other guys embraced it right away. Of course, those that embraced it right away succeeded right away. Probably everybody's caught up at this point. But I think it's one of those things where you really have to look at your roster, see who's looking around, see if you have a chance to fill some needs. And look, a lot of these kids, like Vinny said, they are 3, 4, 5 stars, whatever. And all of a sudden you're finding yourself, maybe you're behind 2 or 3 other guys. And you think, well, there's an opportunity for me to go somewhere else. And you have to capitalize on that. And unfortunately, it's just the way the game is right now.
Right.
Because if you're less than 2, and even if you're a 2, what does that mean? You're not getting a pretty good NIL, right? Deal. Yeah. Let's face it, right? I mean, that's got a big part in this as well these days. So, just ask Shedeur Sanders how good the NIL is.
So Oklahoma State, the old phrase is if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. They have 3 quarterbacks, so they absolutely have no quarterbacks. Bowman played all right against Iowa State 2 weeks ago, but still in a losing effort for the Pokes. Again, 12-point underdogs at home against Kansas State, who the path actually is pretty nice for Kansas State to make it back to the Big 12 title game. Yet again, their only loss is out of conference to Missouri. So a path is there to get back to Arlington to
another
defend.
well-coached team. Really.
Kleiman's awesome.
He had a lot of success at North Dakota State, came in, stepped right in, and the guy knows how to coach.
Absolutely. Let's move to the other game tonight. Oh, what a doozy this one is in Champaign in the Big Ten. Nebraska and Illinois for this one. 2 disappointments this year so far. Nebraska just seemingly can't get out of their own way. The Illini, I'm a little surprised Illinois has looked as bad as they have so far.
Jeff, that was one of my teams going into this year. I thought they were going to be pretty good.
I thought they had a chance to win the Big Ten West. It's just not going to happen for them.
We got one. We were 3.5 on this game. We're down to 3, so that's really the only significant action we have in this.
Total down as well, 43 to 42.
Yeah, I mean, Nebraska. Look, their defense is good. It's just, the problem is that their defense is on the field the entire time. It's a quarterback play that's plagued Nebraska this year.
Horrible.
I mean,
but let's back up a game, because I wrote down a lot of total plays too.
Yeah,
the limit total plays. In this Oak State game, we got bet under 54.5, under 54, and they even bet me under 53.
Huh.
So I'm I'm at the low water mark on the total, but this is all again off of business.
Huh. People don't like that Oak State offense. I'll just say that for sure. Nothing too significant on this. No Illinois by 3 for you guys. That's all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Illini 3-point favorites at home tonight. That's an 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific for that one in the Big Ten. All right, let's move to tomorrow. Rotation number order here for you guys listening at home. 319, 320 here in Nevada. This is a 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific kick. in Lawrence, Kansas. Central Florida coming off of whatever that was in the fourth quarter last week, blowing a 4-touchdown lead in their first Big 12 home game to Baylor. Now they go back to the state of Kansas after losing to K-State 2 weeks ago to take on the Jayhawks. Kansas stayed in the game for a long while without Jalen Daniels, who suffered re-injured his back in pregame warmups in Austin a week ago. Chris, this is a favorite flip, and this, to me, there are two factors to this. Looks like Plumlee has a chance to go, which was not expected at the beginning of the week for Central Florida, even though their backup, I thought, has actually looked pretty good so far. Yeah. It was not his fault that they lost either of the games. And it's not expected for Jalen Daniels to go here. It looks like Jason Bean is going to go for the second consecutive week for Kansas. Central Florida, 2-point favorites.
Didn't start this way, though, Jeff.
Did not.
Again, before we got on the air, I wanted to chart all our limit bets this week. I'm looking at Central Florida. Okay, this look +3, +2.5, +2. I moved it drastically after that. Went the pick. They laid me the pick. They laid me the 2 after that. So I went to 2.5. Somebody did come in and take the 2.5. So I'm back to 2 on this. Is Central Florida the favorite? I have to tell you, I think this is a big overreaction.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think. What's the kid's name for Kansas that's going to play?
Jason Bean will be starting.
He's pretty good. He's not that bad. I don't think that warranted this kind of an odds flip. But when they kick off tomorrow, I most certainly will be rooting for Kansas. I probably think the number should be around Pick'em or maybe Kansas 1 with the quarterback change. But I think this type of a move is just a little too much.
That Central Florida collapse last week was big for the bettors. They had a good. They were on Baylor in that game, so had a good afternoon last Saturday.
Still can't believe that Central Florida managed to lose that game outright. It's one thing to blow the cover, but to lose that game outright, really, really bad stuff for Malzahn.
Have to see how it's going to be interesting now. How they respond now with all the. Not that they know it, but I'm curious to see how they respond with all the money going their way.
Well, that's the thing. Well, for just responding, when you blow a lead like that, it's college kids. That very easily can be a scenario where one loss turns into 2. So, by the way, I'm with you, Chris. I think this move, the bettors have taken this a little too much in favor of Central Florida. Am I saying Central Florida is not going to win the game and cover? No, but Bean is a downgrade. But if it's not Plumlee, it's even a quarterback in this game.
I think it's an overreaction. But we talked about Kleiman coming in from a smaller college and doing a great job. Leipold, this guy's a fantastic coach. He's going to have this team ready. I mean, if I was out there playing, I would probably take Kansas, find a nice money line and take Kansas, get a little juice working my way.
Let's go to the next one in the ACC. Back to earth, Syracuse came last week against Clemson.
It's called back to the schedule.
Back to the yeah, very much so. We talked about that last week. With Syracuse's schedule just gets really difficult very quickly. Now they go to Chapel Hill. Things kind of opening up for North Carolina to possibly make a run to the ACC title game.
Right.
And now UNC back home, 9.5-point favorites here, Chris, hosting the Cuse. Total 59.5 in this one.
Yeah, they laid me the 8.5 and the 9. I'm trying to see what I made this game. I made the game like 7.5. I think we may be overreacting again a little bit more to Syracuse's loss last week. But Carolina is pretty legit. They're coming on pretty strong, and they are the kind of team that figures to maybe get a little bit better as the year wears on. So even though I made it a little bit lower, I can't really argue with the number. And like I said, this is a move on money. We opened at 8.5. We're up to 9.5.
Once again, we talked, Jeff, previously about the playoff for the conference. Right, it's the first 2 teams. There's no divisions, and you mentioned that North Carolina is certainly in the mix here. As far as a buyback number, I'm starting to see some 10s out there, so I have to believe that Syracuse getting 10 will probably garner some buyback at some point.
I don't really buy either of these defenses. I know this has been bet under from 60 to 59 back to 59.5. I'm not seeing that move. I'm not seeing that move.
You like it over?
It's one of those where Syracuse's defense looked good against mediocre teams. Play Clemson did not look good at all. North Carolina's defense, you have no idea what you're getting on a weekly basis. And I know one thing in this game. Drake May is the best player on the field. I know that for a fact. So it makes sense to me why people are laying it with UNC. Maybe getting to 10, that is a take, as you said, Vinny.
Pay attention to Jeff Parles, ladies and gentlemen. He did have the Bears last night.
I did.
That's
did.
right.
I did say that they were going to
Yes,
lose
you
in
did.
agonizing fashion, but I did have
You
to.
said them on the cover. You said that.
Said they were
Very
going to
good.
cover. That was never a doubt.
Very
The cover
good.
on that one. Even though it did, I will say with the Bears, when that got back to 2 scores, it wasn't in the back of your head. It was like, oh,
What
are they
happened last
really going to
week?
blow this again?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Really did feel like that the avalanche may have started, but Bears held on, as we know. All right, number 1 in the country. Let's go there next. This is 3:29, 3:30, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. Georgia against undefeated Kentucky, as we all expected in football. But, Chris, this is an interesting one here because it's ranked v. ranked, and Georgia, and this number's really kind of stayed.
Yeah,
If anything, you've taken money on the favorite here, the Dogs.
Yeah.
From 14.5 to 15, back to 14.5 earlier today.
You know, I made the number 15.
Okay.
I think we opened at 15. It's just been a little bit of give and take, and I think a lot of people are starting to question Georgia. I know Vinny kind of brought it to my attention a couple weeks ago, and I was maybe a little slow on the trigger to say, I think you're wrong, Vinny, but now I think he's kind of convinced me. I'm not saying they're not the best team in the country, but the gap is greatly narrowed. I think Michigan and Ohio State both have a decent beef as to who this is, and a game we'll get to a little bit later, Texas and Oklahoma. Whoever wins that one, I don't think Oklahoma could be number 1, but I think Texas, if they win and win handily, I think they could make an argument that they're up there too. But I think this is a good number. We've got good two-way action on it, and we'll see where it winds up tomorrow.
I'm curious to see both these because in recent years, when Kentucky had really high hopes, when there was a lot of anticipation for some recent Kentucky teams, and Stoops has done a great job there. There's no question about it. They would slip. This is going to be a major test for them. And really, we keep waiting for, as Chris indicated, when is Georgia going to be the Georgia that we had expected? Not the case anymore. Again, they've come back to the pack in terms of power ratings. Again, we don't, rankings or rate, polls don't determine prices. So that when people start talking about that, who's a favorite and who's not, that's believe me, love to book that. Trust me.
By the way, when I said number 1, I meant number 1 in my power ratings. I don't know. I care less what anybody else says.
There's power ratings and then there's rankings. So, but again, at some point you would expect Georgia to answer the bell, so to speak. So I'm curious to find out which Kentucky this is, and absolutely which Georgia this is.
Real quick, an NFL note that just came down. Garoppolo passed concussion protocol. He will play on Monday night for the Raiders. Number had been kind of moving in the Raiders' direction with the expectation he was going to get cleared.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
before we move on from the Georgia game, we did get bet under 48.5 and 48 on this game.
47.5 now, right, Chris?
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
One last question on Georgia, because you mentioned it, Chris, and Vinny and I had this conversation last week, even before they struggled to beat Auburn. How narrow is it now from in your power ratings, Georgia to everyone else, basically? Because there was a nice gap at the beginning of the year.
I think I had like about a 4 to 5 point gap.
Yeah.
Now it's 1.
Yeah.
And there's a couple teams, like I said, right there, and it's no more than that. But I mean, it's time to start putting up for these guys. We anticipated quite a bit out of them. They're well coached. They've recruited great. They've played great. I mean, everything. Yeah. But, they haven't played great this year. They've really not looked like themselves. We keep waiting for them to bust out. And I've seen years when they do, and I've seen years when they don't. And I'm talking broadly now, not Georgia specific.
Keep an eye on Ohio State, which was a big answer in people's minds, I think, at South Bend. Michigan. A real solid game last week. I have to tell you too, keep an eye on this Alabama team. If they keep winning, they seem to have gotten things right under center now. I think it was the third game where they're
that disaster.
Yeah, but Saban, the quarterback change. But I think there's some rhythm there now. Alabama may have something to say at the end of the day. Penn State, okay, they're right there, and Chrissy hit on Texas. I want to see what Texas, what the result is this weekend. But you got all these teams now instead of a 6-point gap going into the season. There's maybe one. I'll tell you what. You put those teams I just mentioned on neutral field and make it pick 'em and let the bettors decide in some cases.
It wouldn't be much further than that. But we've got a big Bama game we're going to talk about a little bit.
We'll get that a little bit later.
Yeah.
Very rare you see Bama short of a favorite ever. And
a lot of interesting moves in this.
A lot of interesting ones. We'll get to that one a little bit later. It all comes down to the quarterback position for me for Georgia. That's why I don't like this team as much as past teams. And yes, there were plenty of questions. Can Stetson Bennett win a title as the quarterback at Georgia? There were plenty of questions going into that 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And they won twice with Bennett as the quarterback. Now, granted, they might have won with you playing quarterback last year, Vinny, but in the end.
More convincingly, no doubt.
But same sort of deal. Can they win with Beck as their quarterback? I'm not so certain, especially with everyone right on their tails. I think Michigan's the closest team at the moment with Texas right behind them, personally.
Yeah, again, but also what's happened is they're getting behind in games, right, too. So it's the defense is they're just not firing on all cylinders.
Chris, this one's been a big mover, and this is the Power 5 team at the Service Academy here. Army, you opened 4 against Boston College, and the bettors have taken the Power 5 Eagles here, which is a little bit surprising to me.
Yeah, I thought the opening number was okay, but they took +4, +3, +3.5. Or wait, +4, +3.5, +3. I'm down to 2.5. But, go back to some earlier games like BC against Florida State, particularly. I think the wise guys have been on BC a couple of times. And I think it's something to take note of. When they keep going back to this, maybe it's somebody like me that has a different power rating on this team. Let me see what I made this game. I made the game like 6. So I thought the opening number, even that was a little bit short. So I think that the wise guys may be on to something here. They're certainly backing their conviction with money. They've taken it down pretty good. So something for guys to watch out. If BC wins this game or covers, it might be a team to watch in the future. I
got to believe at some point, we'll get to that Army threshold to buy back. I just don't see it running that much more, right, Chris? I mean,
2.5 should be a tell. I
mean, we should get a pretty good idea here pretty soon. And again, this one, Jeff, is it's an early kickoff too, so we'll know probably overnight. Will tell us some more.
You want one for the bingo card in this next game, real quick? A toggler with Notre Dame and Louisville. Now, Louisville goes into this one undefeated. Notre Dame escaping last week in Durham against Duke, finding a way to cover all numbers as well. Chris, you open 6.5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 6, 6.5 right now.
Yeah,
Notre Dame laying it in Louisville.
This has been the classic toggler, and I think I made this number 6, so we're right there. And I think it's going to be a real good game. Louisville showing a lot of signs of being a team that's on the rebound after kind of a bad year last year. But I think it's going to be a tough test for Notre Dame. But, no beef with the number, and the action on this one's been fantastic.
We'll get Notre Dame on it, right? I mean, it went down. It'll come back up. So, again, another team in the mix in the ACC in Louisville, right? So this will be a good one, too. Positioned nicely, too, on the schedule.
Yeah, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I have absolutely no idea on this one because this is a big step up for Louisville from what they've faced so far this year, competition-wise. But you mentioned a new coach. Brom comes in for Satterfield.
Yeah.
It is very rare that your coach bolts for another job and you end up with a much better coach, and Louisville has ended up with that.
That's exactly what happened.
So far this year with Satterfield, now at Cincinnati, and Cincinnati looking very average through the first month of the season. All right, we'll put these ACC games together here, Chris. Clemson is a 21-point favorite against Wake Forest. Boy, Wake has fallen pretty quickly with losing Hardman. 53 to total on that one. Georgia Tech and Miami. Georgia Tech. Well, the wise guys, you brought this up last week with Bowling Green. Bowling Green not only covered the number, they won outright against Georgia Tech.
And it wasn't even close.
Total beatdown after the first
quarter.
Another
afternoon game that was successful, good for the bettors.
Yeah. Miami's 20 against Georgia Tech. And then Florida State and Vodtech. Boy, the Hokies are just... They're not your Beamer Hokies anymore.
No, they're certainly not.
24 the number right now on Florida State. Looks like you just moved that back up, actually, Chris, to 24.
They took 25, 24.5. I wound up moving it a whole point after the 24.5. Went to 23.5, and they just laid it back. They laid back the 23.5, and we're at 24 once again with that. I kind of like the higher number, but Florida State, another one that I'm a little disappointed in. I thought they would waltz to the final here. The playoffs anyway, and they haven't done that. And by the way, since we are talking, I've just went through my numbers. I have Ohio State 2 points better than Georgia.
Oh,
Michigan 1 point better than Georgia. And I have Georgia on a par with Florida State, Penn State, and let me check Texas real quick. I actually have Texas 1 point better than them.
so Ohio State's number one in your power rating.
Yeah, power ratings, yeah.
Okay.
And let me just tell you, the way I do my power ratings, if you're 100, you should be the best team in the country. I have nobody that's 100 right now.
Okay.
So I have questions about everybody. And even my top-ranked team, Ohio State, I think has shown some flaws, certainly. So I don't have anybody that would be in that 100 mark. And I think I started Georgia at a 102. I thought they were clearly the best team in the country. And I'd say at this point, I'm clearly wrong.
Parity.
It's a good thing. We haven't had this in college football in years. There's 10 teams
we
that I
could
would
use
give
the
a shot.
12-team playoff this year.
I know.
So,
I know. This would be the
This
perfect
is-
year
yeah.
for it.
This is shades of college basketball, right?
Yeah, a little
Right,
bit.
when there's
which
usually
is good.
20 teams that can win it.
Yeah,
Which is
especially last
which
year.
Is a good thing.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. So
And right now, Georgia's still the betting favorite in the futures market at plus 325. Chris, just staring at the numbers you guys have, that Alabama 25-1, just staring.
Yeah,
me
and
right
I'm
in the
looking. I got
face.
Alabama the same price as Georgia, the same power rating as Georgia, because I
they've
think
come up.
they've turned. You got to go quick. You got to quick, and sometimes you have to be very careful not to overreact, but you have to react too. So it's kind of a fine line, and of course, that's why we have betting, Jeff.
Of course,
That's why we have it.
for sure. Let's go to this. Let's go to the next one here. In Columbia, Missouri tomorrow, the undefeated Missouri Tigers welcome in LSU. Chris, this is one where the weather, because Missouri weather doesn't make any sense. It's going to be 46 degrees at kick tomorrow in Columbia.
Aren't you glad you're in Las Vegas?
I'm very happy I'm not there tomorrow. I would have been covering that game for sure. Still in Columbia, but the bettors have taken the home Tigers in this game from 6.5 to as low as 4.5. And you're back at LSU laying 5 on the road in Como tomorrow.
Yeah, this is another toggler, though. The toggling spread, the strato's a little bigger. Yeah, like you said, down as low as 4.5, up as high as 6. But great action on this game. Boy, LSU, that's one of those teams. Which LSU is going to show up? I know one thing. Their defense ain't figured to show up. But it's funny. I got a little bit more play on the under than I do the over. I did get bet over 64.5, but then they bet me back under 65. And under 65.5, or under 65 and under 64.5. So a little bit of two-way action on the total. But boy, this LSU defense, they've gone over how many games in a row? I don't know. I know it's a bunch.
There were only 104 points last week with them and Ole Miss.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this should be a good game. It's a great betting game right now.
I could see the total going back up tomorrow.
This is an early
overnight.
one.
I know it's an early, so overnight. Again, we're 24 hours here. 3-shift town, and the book here is live, open, not just the kiosks, but staffed as well. In case you're out and about,
So for Mizzou, there are 2 games under schedule that were circled pre-season of unwinnable, at least from the perspective. This was one of them, and the Georgia one in Athens is the other one. This is clearly a winnable game now with the way LSU's defense has played.
Yeah.
And look, with the way that the SEC is broken down here, and Vinny, we talked about this last week on Thursday, where LSU and Mississippi was a game I wanted nothing to do with because I don't know what I'm getting out of either of those teams other than maybe consistent offensive play. And last week, all we got was offense.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Ole Miss looked great for half against Alabama, and then everything just stopped in the second half against the Tide. But this is a good measuring stick game for Mizzou to see if this 5-0 is a legitimate 5-0 or not. Because if a smallish dog at home, you win this game outright, you can start saying, all right, maybe they are the second best team in the SEC East with only Georgia ahead of them.
Yeah, and listen, we see 5-6 point dogs win every week.
Oh, absolutely.
That's nothing.
Oh, you saw a 21-point dog win by 28 last week.
That's right. So you're right. This is a good test for Missouri, but it's a big test for LSU too. I mean, time for
They're
them.
3-3 if they lose this game.
Time for them. I mean, they were one of the favorites to win the national championship. I mean, they were certainly assumed to be in the hunt, but they're certainly not at this point.
No, they're done.
They're done.
They're done.
3 losses.
I mean, 3 losses you're not getting there, and even I don't know if 11-2 is good enough at this point.
Chance for a statement here by your alma mater, buddy.
Or for LSU. Either way, Vinny. LSU can wake up. I have nothing. I have nothing on this game. I thought the 6 was right originally, but I'm again dead number 5.5 out there. So we'll steer clear of that one. All right, another one that's on a dead number. Oklahoma, Texas. This is the biggest game of the weekend. This is what these teams wanted. They're both 5-0 into the Cotton Bowl in Dallas tomorrow, noon Eastern, 11 a.m. local in Dallas, Texas at the Texas State Fair. Chris, you opened 5.5, got bet up to 6.5. Now back to 5.5. Texas laying it right now.
Yeah.
And the total opened 60.5, got as high as 61.5, back to 61 here.
Great betting game.
Oh,
but I got to tell you, when I opened the game 5.5, it was 6 everywhere.
Yeah.
I wanted to take a bet on Texas. And like I said, I like Texas a lot, but I think Oklahoma's been really good this year. I think they're going to play this game really tough, and I think they have a great chance to win. I think that this number's gotten way too high. I was thinking more of like a couple points in favor of Texas, no more than that. But it's a great game. By the way, do you know why it's so early in Texas? The drinking.
Oh,
they don't want people getting too drunk.
Boy, that's going to stop some people.
Well, they know that both teams it's halfway between both teams.
Can't you make that case for all these games?
Well, this one has a lot of drinking, and it's halfway between both, and they know. Particularly, most of the Oklahoma people are going to drive home after the game, and they did it to just reduce those DUIs. I don't know what the record is, but I have a feeling that the cops are going to be patrolling whatever ice.
I don't know. I don't know that area of the country that well.
But they'll be patrolling that pretty heavily, certainly on the Oklahoma side. But that's why it's always so early.
Good two-way betting game, right? Chris said.
Fantastic.
Again, selfishly, I personally wish it was later, but
I do too.
People will adjust again. Overnight action.
The winner of this game has a wide open path to make the college football playoff. Texas's schedule is really, for an elite team, a pretty easy schedule on the back half. Oklahoma, same sort of deal. Both of their schedules really manageable the last 6 games. So whoever wins this game, they're going to the college football playoff. I understand they'll probably have a rematch
they have to
in
win
Arlington.
the conference title game too, though, because of don't forget what hurts.
It would probably be a rematch if in Arlington too.
And the only other thing, though, Jeff, and I don't disagree with you, but the thing to remember also is that the Pac-12 is going to be more relevant this year than it has been in years past, simply because of success and, frankly, because of the attention it's drawn by, Deion Sanders. Every team in the Pac-12 should thank him for the attention.
So the Big 12 benefits next year then. So the Big 12 benefits next year when Deion and Colorado
next year
move there.
there's 12 schools going next year. So I mean there's a lot more wiggle room. But
right.
The only thing I would say about that, Vinny, those guys have a chance of knocking each other off.
In the Pac-12.
In the Pac-12.
Well, no, I get it, but
there's some very good.
Let's remember this.
I think it's a great conference.
The thing about it is that the Pac-12 has been out of the playoff picture in September for the most part.
2 years ago, they were
out. Not the case. I don't think that's going to be the case.
So for the Pac-12, and I will say this, to me, a 12-1 Texas with a loss in the conference championship game might still get in over a Pac-12 champion. Well, they might. They might.
And I think that, to your point, I agree with that. The SEC is going to have a much more difficult time
They're not getting two this year.
Getting two teams in. So that helps Big 12. It helps the Pac-12 as well.
By the way, let me amend my power ratings. I just had to look. I have Washington on a par with Ohio State.
So Washington and Ohio State are 1-2 for you.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I listen. Their
really, offense is awesome.
They're really good. Yeah, they're really good.
Ahead of Oregon.
I have them a point better than Oregon.
Okay.
Oh,
See,
we'll
I
get that matchup next week.
I
Yeah,
got Oregon.
I
yeah,
know.
got
And you know what? I
slightly.
didn't put that as one of my games of the year, and a guy pointed that out to me, and I said, how did I blow that? I mean, because I knew these two teams are both going to be good.
No,
I've got Oregon about a point and a half. I got the other way. Well, that's what makes.
Well,
that's what's
that's why there's gambling,
why
man.
there's-
there you
yeah,
go. Well,
right?
remember, as Chris has said, there's no sharp union, right?
There's no bookmaker
There's no
union. There's
bookmaker
no wise
union,
guy
yeah.
union.
We're a non-union.
We're a right to
enterprise.
we're a right to bet state.
right.
Any way you want to go.
That's it.
By the way, Washington hosts Oregon next week. That will be a spectacular football game
Great game.
in Seattle next week. All right. We expected these two teams to be undefeated, right? Ohio State and Maryland, right, Chris? Both of these
Right,
teams
yeah.
expected to be undefeated heading to the shoe this week. This is right now you got 19, Ohio State laying it at home, 56.5. I know Maryland's undefeated. I have no idea what to make of them. I really don't. I don't know if this is a fraudulent 5-0. I don't know if this is a team that could end up going 9-3 with just 3 losses to the Big Three and the Big Ten. I have no idea what to make of this.
They're
Maryland
almost 3
team.
touchdown dogs.
No,
so
I know.
That should tell you a lot.
No, well, again, Ohio
They laid
State-
the 19 at one point.
Right,
Yeah, I mean, I made the game 20.
Okay.
So, I mean,
And it was
it's
20
right
for
there.
Oregon.
That's where it was. I mean, I have no opinion in the game where I could see the back door could easily be open in this one for a late cover. But that's one of those deals where you just kind of make the number and, let the bettors decide what they may. And that's where I am.
Maryland, by the way, has the Big Three left on their schedule. And then other than that, Illinois, Nebraska, Northwestern, and Rutgers.
Yeah, so other than Ohio State, Michigan,
Yeah,
and Penn State, yeah.
Now, they're going to be favored in their other games other
Yeah.
than this one. So that kind of also just tells the case of what the Big Ten is after the Big Three this year,
Right.
where the Big Three are 3 of the 6 best teams in the country. And then after that, it's a whole bunch of average in the Big Ten.
Conversely, the Pac-12 has probably 5 or 6 teams that would compete with any of those
Absolutely.
Big Ten teams that we just mentioned. Any one of them.
Absolutely. 19 right now, Maryland on the road, underdog at Ohio State. Hey, here's a good one. Rutgers and Wisconsin, conference game. It's only going to get weirder with the Big Ten, where we get Rutgers and Oregon conference game next year.
Classic rivalry.
Hey, throw out the record books when the Ducks and the Scarlet Knights get going. But the Badgers hosting Rutgers here. Chris, the bettors have taken the Scarlet Knights in this one.
That's another great 2-way game. I made the number a little bit lower. I made it 12. So again, not nothing crazy. But we've had some good action both ways in this one. This is it's an early game on the Peacock.
Yeah, there we go.
And you never want to miss a Peacock game. But we got a lot of business on this one. So I told we got to talk about this one because I got a ton of play on this one. A lot of opinions, which of course as bookmakers we love.
Yeah, not a lot of moving on the total either, Chris. Right? Pretty good.
I didn't mark down anything for the total. Yeah, so it looks like
Half a
2-way
point,
action.
maybe.
The total's right.
Yeah. There you go.
One other one actually that's ahead in the rotation number that I do want to bring up because it looks like we can get to this one. TCU and Iowa State. This is a Big 12 game. TCU is clearly not the same team they were last year.
no.
They're 0-2 in close games, on top of not being anywhere as good. Iowa State's kind of a mess. Last week, it was good for a half, and in the second half, they just got the doors blown off by Oklahoma. Opened 6.5 on this one with TCU and Iowa State. And Chris, you've stayed there the whole week, but the total, 52.5 to 52. Iowa State's offense was the best it possibly could be with 20 last week.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to see some of the action here. I got nothing written down as far as action on this game.
So this has been one of the blander games on the card.
Yeah, I mean, right from a fan standpoint, it looks like a pretty good game, for guys like us.
Right.
But the bettors really haven't glommed onto one side or the other in this
Or
one.
the
numbers.
Right?
Nothing. So we've just kind of stayed still on this one.
Let's go to one that I know everyone's looking forward to. Purdue and Iowa, 367, 368. Iowa onto the backup quarterback now. Chris, from 3 to 2.5 to 2. Iowa laying it at home against Purdue, and that total, opened 38.5, and not really moved.
Well, I'm not sure you ever want to be laying points with this Iowa team, but really both teams I think have been pretty moribund. I guess we could use that word.
It's a good word.
Yeah, thanks. Total's 38.5, which is
that's a 10-point word. Right
I think it's a little bit of an overreaction. As bad as Iowa's been, there's still going to be hard to beat at home for a team like Purdue just to go in there and walk. I mean, you're taking 2 points. Essentially, you're telling me they're going to win the game. Yeah. I think this is an overreaction. I think the money's going to come back on Iowa at some point. I think this one's reached a low point.
Maybe in game too. So
in-game totals for Iowa games with early touchdowns when it gets into the 40s is something that
total,
I do look
but
to
decide,
do.
Maybe you get maybe if you're undecided pregame, you look for the in-game, right?
I think I side with Chris on this one, where even though Iowa their offense is horrible to put it politely, but you're asking Purdue to walk into a place that is usually very difficult to win, regardless of how bad that offense is. I can't get there on that for Purdue. Maybe a short money line price on Iowa as well. I'm probably going to stay away from this.
Yeah, but I got to tell you, if I was out there playing instead of bookmaking, I think I would have Iowa in this one. I think it's just too much of an overreaction.
Let's go to this one in the Mountain West. This is actually a really good game up in Laramie. Fresno goes to elevation against Wyoming. Chris, you opened 6, went to 5.5, now back to 6 earlier today. Total's been hit down 2.5 points from 45.5 to 43. An interesting test here for Fresno going on the road to a team that at a bare minimum we know is going to be ready to play, and we know Wyoming is really well coached.
Yeah, again, another guy that came from North Dakota State, Craig Bohl, hasn't quite made the impact that like Kleinman has. But have you ever been to Laramie?
It's a hard place to recruit.
I was going to say, I've been there. It wouldn't be on my list if I was any kind of an athlete. So I think overall he's done a pretty good job at Wyoming. I have no real opinion in this game. I think the number's been good, and I think that attests to the kind of action we've had. Lay 5.5, take 6. I think the number's right there.
More moving on the total, as you pointed out, Jeff. And again, not just a tough place from an elevation standpoint. Not an easy trip.
No.
That
not for Fresno. No.
That comes into play, particularly in college as well.
Chris, this is a big mover. Next one on the Mountain West card.
Yeah.
Colorado State from 1 to 3 in Logan against Utah State. Total 6. This total has been on quite the ride, hasn't it? From 63.5 to the peak of 65, back to 62 yesterday on this one. Sure, one of the bigger movers of the whole week is this game here.
Yeah, this is going to be a big need for us. I thought the number should open like pick, but I saw the market. I opened 1, and I'm glad at least I opened 1. I saved myself 1 bet anyway, rather than opening a pick. But yeah, this is one of the big movers of the day, and we'll be rooting for Utah State. It's a late game, so we'll see if we get some money late. But so far, the trend strictly been one way with no comeback whatsoever at all on the dog.
Interesting. You look at this game and the way it's moved and where it's positioned on the schedule at 5:00 Pacific. Chrissy, he hit on a key point. There may be a bigger decision on this game than an SEC game. So, in all likelihood, right? And
so far, yeah.
I mean, when you look at how this one's moved compared to some of those the bigger conferences.
By the way, we take the same limits on all college games. I mean, that's a little bit hard. And I tell you, we take 10,000 to a number. And the thing is, when Michigan plays Ohio State, of course, we take a little bit more. Oklahoma playing Texas, we take a little bit more. But you got games like this, you know what I mean? And it's just easier for all my people. We just, I always say one limit, and we don't have any limit bumps. When we open the number, that's what the limit is. The only limit bump we have is when I open the NFL overnight, Sunday night, the limit's 5,000. But once we get to 8:00 Monday morning, it's 20,000. So, we go from there.
And NFL's Sunday night, Chris, and then college Monday morning.
College Monday morning,
right. I'm a little stunned that this is the bettors have taken this game this aggressively. I'm a little surprised.
You like the points.
Yeah, join the club. I told you, I thought the game should be picked.
Again, we're betting numbers, not teams. I don't like this Utah State team at all. I know they won last week, but UConn is back to old school UConn yet again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, what did Colorado State do last week? They struggled against Utah Tech.
Yeah. Oh, hey, look. What is Utah Tech the old Dixie State, right?
I think it is. Yeah.
So, see the crew in the back affirming what I said there. But
is there a little tuition action back there? Right? SUU, Southern Utah. There you go.
You know, I was at that camp. It's a really nice campus. Yeah. They were very good in basketball. You know, they really were. You know, so maybe they'll make some noise at some point. But I mean, Colorado State. I mean, I don't know what they've done to warrant being 3
They played Dion tough. That's what it was.
They played one real good game. They really did. You know, but other than that, I'm not so sure.
Let's go to one more Mountain West game before we move into a cavalcade of Pac-12, which there are a bunch of good Pac-12 games on Saturday. Chris, this is really a total mover with Boise and San Jose State. Hasn't moved at 9.5 the whole week. Total down 1.5 though, from 59 to 57.5.
Yeah, the total moved 9.5. I actually have play on the dog, but I haven't moved it yet. I thought the number's okay. I haven't seen it move anywhere else, so I've just kind of held fast. I think that's a good number. And again, the late game, we tend to get some favorite money on some of these late games. So I'm just going to leave it where it is until somebody bets me a little bit more.
Probably not as much on this one as the previous one, but still, It's right there at 5 o'clock. So again, they're clustered, and a lot of folks will bet in clusters. They'll bet, I'm going to bet my 9s, I'm going to bet my 12:30s, and I'm going to bet my 5s. So
Exactly.
We'll get the most of it.
Let's go to the Pac-12, guys. USC and that defense.
What defense?
In quotes. Taking on Arizona at the Coliseum. This is a late one, 7:30 Pacific, local time there in L.A. Chris, total hasn't moved. 72 the whole week.
Yeah.
21.5 down to 21 earlier today. USC's defense is just, for as great as that offense is, the defense can't stop anyone. And they let Colorado back in the game last week. Colorado ends up covering pretty easily because of it. And the total, which was ridiculously high at 73.5, 74 last week, was zooming over because of that USC defense.
Well, it's been that way for the last couple of years, right, Chris?
Yeah, last year especially as well, yeah.
We knew they didn't really recruit defensively and then or transfer anybody from Oklahoma. But doesn't look like they addressed the defense in the offseason this year either.
And, we talked about it. I made the game 20, so it wasn't that far off. But, I remember telling my guys we started seeing some movement. I says, I don't know what the score is going to be, but I know this. The back door is going to be wide open for this one. Can they come in and close it or can USC close it? I don't know. But here's an interesting thing. So we got 43 games. So there's 86 teams on my team to be the highest scoring team for Saturday. USC is 5-1. I mean, that's a really short price, for when you're going against 85 opponents and you're 5-1. But right now, like you said, look at that total. What is it right now? 72. They certainly pencil in for the lion's share of that 72.
Yeah.
5-1 against 86, and I try to keep the theoretical percentage about the same every week. So believe me when I tell you, 5-1 is a really short price. But I'm starting to look around. I mean, who else is going to beat them? I don't know, because they're going to put some points up. I know.
And not many good contestants this week. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It just with the way that the totals break down, and also again, obviously,
a lot of underplay when I was doing my charting for limit bets. A lot of underplay this week.
Okay. It's the public big bettors haven't flown in yet, Chris.
SC
wise guys have, though.
Yeah.
Saturday night SC games.
This is your chase game.
Always a big
for Saturday night.
Always
get even or get even worse.
That's
absolutely. Dion, Coach Prime, Colorado on the road at Arizona State. Only 3.5 here in this one. 58. You guys are marked low on the total for this game. Bettors have taken the Sun Devils 4.5 down to 3.5.
Yeah. I got to tell you, I kind of like Colorado in this one. I think this number's gotten a little cheap. Tends to happen with a guy like Dion. He got a lot of lovers, a lot of haters. But I think overall, they've played well, and certainly in spots, but they've shown their vulnerability too. And I think guys are certainly the money is showed on the dog. but I thought this number should be a little bit higher. I kind of like Colorado in this spot.
No Hunter still.
Yep.
Right.
Still out.
So, but healthier than I think than they were last week. Looking at Shadur Sanders, he spreads it around. Speed on defense. Not that they're a lights out defense either, but they make timely plays. So I'm in agreement with Chrissy here. I could see where at some point, and maybe it's 3. I don't know, but I think there'll be. We've not had a Colorado game yet where Colorado was not played. So I don't think that trend will cease tomorrow.
I actually agree with Chris. This seems short. I think this is an overreaction. Arizona State's bad.
They're bad.
They only played well against USC's defense because it's USC's defense. So I think I'm with you. The short price, Arizona State beats me, so be it. I think that would be the way that I would look at that one. Another Pac-12 game. This is a good one. Rose Bowl, UCLA, Wazoo. UCLA opened 4, Chris, down to 3 now. You know, this Cougar team is a really good football team with a very good quarterback in Cam Ward.
Yep.
I want to see how UCLA responds because, of course, they lost a few weeks ago to Utah in that ugly-looking game where, as we saw last week, Utah kind of needed that defensive touchdown in order to score against UCLA. But this is a nice little gut check here for UCLA to see where they're really at.
Hey, Jeff. This is my number 1 action game of the week.
No kidding.
They are all over this game, and I mean guys with big opinions, wise
both
guys,
ways,
sharp guys. As a matter of fact, the last guy come in, and this kid, I mean, that's me a lot. I hate to call him, but I call everybody a kid. But he came in. This kid, he gave us, I think he bet us like $132,000 to win 120.
Oh wow!
He's all over the board. I mean, he's all over the board. But I mean, and he's no dummy. Guy betting that kind of money, you'd certainly have to respect. But he even took the 3 on Wash State. And I just remember I'm looking, I said, this kid's pretty good. He's pretty sharp, but I can't move this number off the 3 yet because I'm all over the place here. But this is my highest action game and really kind of by far a ton of business and big money both ways. So this is going to be a good one. And I think it's going to be a terrific game. I think Wash State started the year maybe a little bit under the radar, but they've proven themselves rather quickly. And UCLA, I think we expected good stuff from a Chip Kelly team. They've been a little inconsistent. I thought that they would be better than that at this point, but they're not. And is Danielle very listening, Vinny?
I think so.
She's old UCLA cheerleader.
Yep.
And hello, Danielle. I don't know if I'm rooting for your team or rooting against them right now. Call me at 11:59 tomorrow.
And
I'll tell you.
And 2-way action on the total as well.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
this is a fantastic betting game.
Yeah.
I wish every game was like this.
Yeah.
I like the dog. Not as much at 3. I took some earlier in the week with the hook. This Wazoo team is really good, and they get hit. They are hidden in that conference because Washington, Oregon, USC. I'm not so sure Wazoo's not better than USC, in all honesty, as a full team. But we'll find out about Wazoo because they're
better than Utah.
Yeah. Well, Utah just has no quarterback right now while Rising's still out.
But I mean, you hear about Utah still gets up until last week still got attention.
Still got attention.
Right.
Getting a little bit off subject here, but there was a great article about land grant universities.
Okay.
And you could see Wash State, Oregon State kind of fell into this. And the way, I don't want to get into it too much, but there's I think it's on The Athletic and how these things came about. The purpose was to build them in rural areas.
Right.
And
those are Wazoo's in the most rural area you could possibly get.
Well, so's Oregon State. Have you ever been there? How about Penn State? Like I said, 3 hours from anywhere.
Tree, Beaver Stadium.
Yeah, it looks like Stonehenge up on the hill there. But I mean that's the point of it. And that right now they're kind of suffering because of that. But it's I always root for the land grant schools. I think there's a lot of really good ones out there.
Let's get 3 more games here before we swap over to the NFL at the top of the hour. Quickly here on this one, Cal is taking money, Chris, against Oregon State.
They took what I opened this one 9.5 and 9. They took off me. I'm 9-8 with this one.
Wow.
I thought the opening number was okay. Cal's really been inconsistent. Oregon State's been very good, but Cal just totally up and down. But sometimes they're up. First game of the year, I thought they looked like they were going to really be something when they beat North Texas, when a lot of money was against them. But since then, they've kind of wavered a little bit. But Oregon State, very good team. I'm going to go into this one needing Oregon State, and I think that's okay.
Yeah, it's similar to Washington State in some way, right? Another good quarterback. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in this conference too.
It's a really good conference.
I mean, yeah. So, you look at next spring's draft. This is the quarterback draft. I think a lot of folks were waiting for.
Penix, May, Williams, those three guys all going to go very high in the draft. Williams will go number 1, assuming he decides to come on out and play for whatever team that is not any good this year and pass up some NIL money. All right, Alabama, Texas A&M. Chris, you've been all over the map on this game. Alabama back to 2.5 right now, but what a trip to get back to 2.5.
It's one of those, like a lot of funny gambling stories about how you win $1 million, blow $1 million. What happened? Oh, I broke even.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that with this game. I opened 2.5. They took me all the way down to pick. They laid me all the way back up to 2.5. I think A&M is pretty good. I think listen, even now, I mean, it's a 2.5 point spread. Yeah, of course, they have a good chance to win this game. I'm really looking forward to this. It's certainly going to be the game of the afternoon. I don't really like anybody in this game. When they bet me down to pick, I'm thinking, boy, I think Alabama's probably the right side. Now they're up to 2.5, and I'm thinking, boy, if I was out there, I might want to take a nice little money line on Texas A&M. It's that kind of game. I think probably Bama should be a slight favorite, 1-2, something like that. But you're cutting it pretty close. You're saying 2.5's my number. I'm going to jump in on that. I'm not sure that would be the case, but I think it's going to be a great betting game. It has been a great betting game. It's one you want to watch tomorrow.
Chrissy doesn't like anybody in the game, and the two coaches don't like each other either.
That's true.
Again, another is it another statement game for Alabama this year after losing the Texas game and getting back on track. So, but again, from our side of the counter, up and down the ladder we go in two-way betting.
There was some rumors that Milroe hurt his hamstring.
Right. Well, if that's the case,
that I think that was the move the one way. And now it looks like he's okay, and that's why we're seeing the move back the other way. I think.
Yeah, look, it looks like Milroe is going to go. There are still rumors floating around on this. If Milroe plays, I have a hard time seeing Alabama losing this game. I really do. If Milroe doesn't play, all bets are off. No pun intended on that one. Because the guys behind Milroe are not any good.
Comes back in on A&M.
One last one here in the final minute before we get over to the NFL. Michigan on the road at Minnesota. This is Saturday night, 7:30 Eastern. Chris, 18 on Michigan right now against the Gophers.
And that's what I made the game. As much as I like Michigan and have them as one of my absolute top teams in the country, Minnesota doesn't give up a lot defensively. I mean, they keep games pretty tight. And again, you see an 18-point favorite and the total's 46. That's pretty tight. Like I said, I made it 18. We opened the game 20 just because I wanted to be with the market, and I even saw a little bit higher when I opened it. But, I could see where you'd play the dog here. But right now, I think this is a good number. I don't think that's quite enough to get me playing on the dog. But if you got to 20 again, which you might, you never know on games like this, I think then the dog might come into play.
All about the dog here so far.
Absolutely.
From the bettors, yeah.
Absolutely. That's a late night game in Minneapolis. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we go to the NFL full card for Week 5 here on Sports by the Book.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day. The friendly ticket writers are happy to help, and it's conveniently located next to the famous Del Mar Deli, where you'll find supersized portions of delicious deli items like roast beef, pastrami, and Reuben sandwiches, or soups, salads, and pizza, plus spectacular desserts fit for a king. And right next door is the race book, over 150 seats, each with its own TV screen. There are 16 interactive player terminals, so you can bet right from your seat.
Welcome back in Sports by the Book here at the South Point studio. I'm Jeff Parles. Vinny Magliulo, Chris Andrews alongside. Hour number 2, I could say it again. Our 2-hour Football Friday shows. Jimmy Vaccaro will show up in 15 minutes. Yes, that's what we hope.
Yeah.
Jimmy, come on in. We'll be to my
Set
left.
your clock by it. No, I'm just kidding. don't do that.
Which clock?
As always, thank you for tuning in wherever you may be watching us today, YouTube, our website, wherever you may be watching. And, of course, if you missed any of the first hour, we're available Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music as well. Plenty of places to hear the audio version as well if you missed any of our number 1. All right, let's go to the NFL here, guys. Let's start in London. Breakfast and football here for the West Coast yet again. We get another London game next week as well, so 3 for 3 on that before we go to Germany in a few weeks after that. Jacksonville, Buffalo. So this is a Buffalo home game. So I'm sure the Bills love that they lose the home game for this. And the weird quirk that we talked about even when the schedule was released. Jacksonville is the first team ever to play back-to-back weeks in London. They were there last week. They won and covered against Atlanta. Chris, you opened 5. It's now 5.5. Yeah. Total back to where it started at 48.5 for this one.
You know, my numbers come to 5.5 on this game, so no beef whatsoever with the number. But you just have to wonder about the travel. You know, I think this sets up fairly well for Jacksonville here. You know, I think they've been there an extra week. You know, have you been to London? I don't know if you have or not.
I've been to Europe. I haven't been to London, no.
It takes a couple days. Well, I've been to Europe a couple times, but I've been to London specifically. And it really takes a couple days for your body clock to get used. I remember the first time my wife and I were taking a bus trip to Stonehenge. And I remember telling her, my body is telling me, what are you doing awake, you idiot? It's 3 o'clock in the morning, where really it's whatever it is, you know. But I think it just takes a while. And I think this gives a little bit of an edge to Jacksonville. Like I said, the number's right there. I'm not sure you're getting tremendous value with it. But if I was out there playing, I think I would take a hunch and bet on Jacksonville.
I think the Bills went today, if I'm not mistaken. I think I would have thought they would.
Teams have been traveling later and later. They've been treating it as like they would travel from Buffalo to Los Angeles when they play the Chargers later this year. Just that you're losing hours as opposed to gaining them back.
I mean, obviously the Jags with a time adjustment advantage. The Bills. I think the key for this game is going to be the Bills' ability to put pressure on Trevor Lawrence. Now, they've got injuries to their secondary, so if he gets time, that could, it could certainly present some problems for the Bills. But the Bills' defense overall has been very good. You may see Von Miller.
Von Miller claims he's playing.
He said he's ready to play. Now, is he? Are we going to see him? 30 or 40 snaps? I kind of doubt it, but. That's what I'm talking about. That kind of pass rush is, I think, what they're going to need to in this game. And again, 5.5, it's the same number, really.
Yeah, they're both dead numbers.
Yeah.
Even though it's a dead number, I do think this is a good spot for the Jags. I think being there will be an advantage. But look, the Bills are just decimating teams right now. They pummeled Vegas 3 weeks ago. Obviously, the Washington game we talked about earlier beat them down. And then And very easily could have scored as much as they wanted against Miami if that game didn't get out of hand.
Probably should have beat the Jets in opening night.
They probably should have.
I mean,
but the four turnovers
playing,
later.
the only team playing nearly as well as them is the Niners.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say the Niners are still slightly better anyway. I know the power ratings say that as well. But Buffalo is playing some great football right now because Josh Allen's not turning the ball over.
No.
I mean, that's really what it is. Yeah, game one. That's why I lost to the Jets because he kept turning the ball over.
By the way, I just want to mention something real quick. And I was talking to Vinny before we came on the air. You know, my September handle, year over year.
Yep.
Up 40%.
Wow.
That's an incredible number.
It's not it's not like you didn't do a ton of business last year.
Well, I was saying, it's not like this place has ever been Sleepy Hollow. It's always been a lot of business. But right now, as I'm looking through the numbers, I'm doing a lot more business on the college so far than on the pros. And I think a lot has to do, there's a couple good games. I think this Bills game's a good game. And I got some pretty good action on it. But it is 6:30 in the morning. You know what I mean? So guys are going to have to bet this one early.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, the Sunday night game is the game of the year.
So far, yes. Yeah.
Cowboys and Niners. But so far, you look at the rest of the schedule, it's really not such a great schedule.
Not a lot of wow games at all.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm hoping that my action picks up here and kind of keeps pace with the pace that we've set so far. Saturday definitely looks like it is. But Sunday, I hope some action picks up. But you know what?
It's
Jeff,
the NFL.
If you've been here Sunday morning,
people will show up. People will bet it.
12 windows, 11 kiosks. We wind up opening 2 over in the race book. It figures to get up there. But
bet number, bet type, bet amount.
They'll find
you
us.
ever heard that one before?
Yeah, a few times.
He'll be in at 11:50. I mean at 3:15. Yeah.
If he's here at 11:15, we all be home by then. I'm sure Jimmy would be home as well.
Yeah, he'll be on. He'll be on his 4th hour sleep.
I meant AM.
Absolutely. Chris, I do want to bring this up because you have highest scoring team.
Yeah, right.
And the first touchdown team to score the first touchdown in the 10 a.m. window. So no Buffalo and Jacksonville for that. But if you want to bet that highest scoring team for the NFL, you got to do it before that Buffalo Jacksonville game.
They're in the mix for that. They are not in the mix for the first touchdown of the day.
No, make sure you get that bet in on. If you're here betting the college on Saturday, get your highest scoring team bet in.
Play it.
Absolutely. Who's the favorite in that this week? For the
highest scoring team?
Highest scoring team for the NFL.
Actually the Eagles at 7-1, and the Chiefs.
The Dolphins are 9-2.
And the Chiefs are 11-2.
Yeah,
as
so
well.
9-2
So there's
Dolphins.
Plus 450 on my.
Well, yeah, they're
plus 450.
playing the Giants. You know.
Yeah, we'll get to that game in a few minutes. Not good for Big Blue so far this year. And Evan Neal made it a little bit worse with the fan base, which is not what you want, for sure. All right. This is an intriguing game to me, guys. And it would not have looked like an intriguing game 3 weeks ago, but now it is.
Yeah.
Houston and Atlanta. Falcons, Chris, you opened them 2.5.
Yeah.
It took you all the way to pick.
Yeah.
And now it's back to Atlanta 1.5. Total hasn't moved at all from 41.5 when you opened last Sunday. Atlanta going the wrong way the last 2 weeks. Quite frankly, they should be 1-3. There was no reason Green Bay should have blown that game in week 2. Desmond Ridder does not look like he belongs as an NFL starter. And then on the flip side, C.J. Stroud has been great, and Houston looks very well coached through the first 4 weeks of the year at 2-2.
You never know when you get these new coaches. But I'd say so far, DeMarco Ryans looks like he is a legit coach.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's on the sidelines. You could just see. Doesn't look flustered. It looks like he's well under control. The team has performed way above expectations. A part of it, I thought Stroud, I said last year, and guys told me I was nuts, I thought he should be the number 1 pick over Young. I just thought I like the bigger guys. And I know I'm an old school guy, but I like the bigger guys. And Stroud's been big. He's a lot more than just big, Jeff, in case you haven't noticed. This kid can play. This kid's a quarterback. And I think the future looks very bright right now for Houston. It looks like they got the right coach, the right quarterback. And they got to make a lot of other really good decisions too, but they're far from that so far. But you get those 2 positions filled with young guys that look like they have a good future, and I think the future is bright. I don't know if they're going to win this game. I think right now 1.5 is about the right number. I thought Atlanta deserved to be a slight favorite. I don't want to go overboard yet on Houston, but I think Atlanta deserves to be a very, very slight favorite here at home, and that's what they are.
I look for, particularly with new coaches, how the team responds to them and how they compete, how they battle. I mean, and Chrissy touched on it. I mean, this Houston team, they battle. And you can say, well, Vin, they all battle. Not every. You look at a vibe of a team, and the vibe of this team is they're together. They're supportive of each other. There's teams that are disjointed, and we'll get to some of them. You know, I mean,
Didn't Jeff mention the Giants?
Up until last night, the Bears were that team. So credit they responded like that. But the Texans, and we'll get to.
We'll get to one in a second on a dysfunctional team at the moment.
Well, and another team that's battling and overachieving, I think, in the eyes of a lot of people is the Cardinals. But I like what we've seen so far out of the Texans in terms of battle.
I like Atlanta this week. I think this is a good bounce back.
Did you bet them at pick or one? Did you bet them yet? Or
I'm gonna see if we get back to one because I was not doing what I was supposed to be doing.
Cheap money line price
on a cheap money line on a pick earlier in the week. But this sometimes we overreact to teams we don't expect to be good that end up looking okay, that end up looking good. And I think that might be a situation with Houston. And I know home road splits don't matter much in the NFL. I think the home road's going to matter for Atlanta. And you don't think of that as a real home field advantage. But Ritter's been playable at home this year. He's been completely awful away from Mercedes-Benz Stadium these last two games. So I think playing at home helps Ritter a little bit against Houston. Again, that's an early window game for that one. All right, let's hit one more here before we get our guy Jimmy on set. Detroit and Carolina. Chris, when was the last time Detroit was almost a double-digit favorite against anyone?
I think Milt Plum was a quarterback.
It's been a while for that one. Lions, 9.5-point favorites against the final winless team in the league, Carolina. Total bouncing around 43.5 to 45, now 44.
Well, we touched 10 on this game.
Yes, you did.
So we were at 10. We're back down to 9.5. I see a lot of nines around, but they took it off me. But I got money on the Lions too, so they've become one of the public teams, and I can see why they win, and they're fairly exciting, and they're well coached, and a coach that I had my questions about, and a quarterback that I had even more questions about. But he's playing well too. So right now, I think the number's okay. This is a classic, Jeff, on that old show we used to do where I used to say diminishing returns. You got to be careful laying big numbers on any NFL team. But I think right now, gun to my head, I would probably play Detroit. I think it's a little bit if it was 10, I'd pass, but under 10, I think I'd take a shot with Detroit.
In every teaser, every money line parlay, even though it's high. And by the way, it looks like Jameson Williams. I think he comes back from his suspension.
He is back because of the change of rules, yes.
He originally had a 6-game suspension, and now he'll be back, so after 4. So big addition for the Lions there.
Your survivor pools this week, Detroit Lions may very well be team number 1 selected.
Probably.
So we'll
Makes
see.
sense.
There are a few good ones this week. One of them that I thought was going to get used last night barely got used in the pool that I've been monitoring. But regardless, we'll see how this goes. It's 9.5 right now, 44 to total. Detroit at home against Carolina. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, Jimmy, Caro, on set with all of us. We'll see where we go. We got a lot of big tickets as well when we get back. Sports by the Book here at the South Point Studio.
The bright lights, the glitz, the glamour. It all means nothing without a shot. A chance to turn dreams into reality. To change your destiny. To make history. Nothing is given. Everything earned. It's more than a race. It's a shot at a championship. Let's go get a championship, baby. The NASCAR playoffs return to Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the South Point 400. October 13th through 15th.
At South Point, we want you to have fun, but we also care about your well-being. Guests have access to our private, state-of-the-art fitness center. No need to miss your workout when we have everything you need, even fitness classes. Be well and be strong. And after your workout, you can look your best and feel even better with a visit to the Costa del Sur Salon. Revitalizing manicures, pedicures, haircuts, and colors for both women and men, because you deserve to look your best.
Welcome back in. Sports by the Book is the show here at the South Point studio. I'm Jeff Parles. Chris Andrews, Vinny Magliulo alongside me to my right. To my left in studio, our good friend Jimmy Vaccaro with us right now. Jimmy, welcome.
I'm Koufax, the lefty.
Yes.
All right. He was pretty good. Chris remembers, Vincenz too.
Sure.
Go lay $4 on, but the only thing about that, like you laid the $4, but like the Dodgers didn't score many runs then, way back when.
They didn't have to with him.
You were rooting for 2-1 final. That's what you were rooting for.
One of my favorite stories about Koufax, he didn't pitch on Yom Kippur because so they started Drysdale instead. Pretty decent pitcher.
That's okay.
He gave up 7 runs in 3 1/3 innings.
Wow.
Walter Alston comes up to get him. Drysdale hands him the ball. He goes, "I bet you wish I was Jewish too, didn't you?"
And I used to guard Ann Myers when she came to the sporting house. That was Drysdale's wife, right? Ann, what was her name?
Ann Myers.
Ann Myers, yeah. She slaughtered me. Absolutely, shoved it everywhere I could get shoved at. And she would laugh after, "Hey, Jimmy, I'll be at the sporting house again." All right, let's get to something that obviously maybe can bring more light to what we do as a living.
Please.
I got 4 tickets here, and they're all bet by the same guy. And Chris says, you saw the guy. You know who he is if you see him.
I know he is, yeah.
But here's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Then I'll. All right, Maryland plus 20 to win 10,000. All right, Alabama U pick 'em to win 10,000. Okay, Kansas State minus 440 on the money line. 20,000 to win 4,500. Here's the reason I'm bringing this one up. He laid 440. He could have laid for his brains $3.80 and $4. Now, as Chris would say, this guy, he met him. He bets, he cares about the number, but he doesn't seem to stop him betting it. And one more, Chris, and then, this one was easy. Cowboys plus the 4 for 11,000. I think that game goes down, and I think he knows a little bit about that. But, we'll see. So I just wanted to bring that up to show you, and Chris, explain a little more about it. Like, some people just want to play, and this is one of the guys that want to play.
Can I tell you something, Jimmy? You know why he comes? He loves to come here because he knows he wins, he loses. He doesn't get any trouble from us. He wins this week. What do? Pat him on the back.
That's all.
See you next week.
You pay him, and there he goes.
I know a lot of other places don't do it. Some places do. A lot of places don't. He knows he can come here. He's going to get all the bets he wants. He's not going to get a hard time over anything. Play some good numbers. Play some not so good numbers. But the guy's a terrific customer of ours, and I'm glad to have him. And you know what? He wins sometimes. And believe me, he wins a lot. Like I said, what do? Pat him on the back. Say, hey, see you next week.
But he knows he doesn't have to spread it around. You can get it down at one time. We have a guy we all know. We won't name him, but he comes every year from back east to bet regular season wins in every sport, and he used to have to make 4 different stops, and he came here and he said, "Listen, what can you do? Well, what are you looking for?" And we put him down. He only makes 1 stop. In fact, sometimes he comes in, he gets here like around midday, and he just leaves.
Yeah,
flies back up.
Yeah, the nice 10 hours on a plane day.
Yeah. But
it's convenient.
Yeah,
it's
like Vinny
easy.
said. Vinny asked him, "What do you look?" I'm looking to bet like 10,000 on season win totals.
Okay,
he bets them all the time.
It's a good customer.
He's picking.
It's a good relationship.
Yeah. He's a nice guy, and he picks his games, and he plays, That's all.
We get some guys, and obviously, Chris, you have to okay all these big plays. That some people even get me something to eat after I'm done. They usually want to run in and do something. A lot of those people are out-of-town people. They want to come, make their bets, maybe grab something to eat. Then we won't see this guy till these games are over. He won't show up, which means
we'll see him next Friday, probably.
Yeah, but to me, it's like, how can you say no to this guy? Don't give me started well, Jimmy, this and that, whatever. No, but, just taking it and not considering anything about it. There's no rigid rules with Chris. If you play and do the things what we give you the idea of how to do it and not to ask for anything and whatever, it works. And let's call it like it is. It's getting pretty dicey out there. What do I mean by that? It's like there's more and more books every day opening up all over the country, and we want to keep our share and keep growing. Well, part of keeping growing is just take care of your customer base. And I think if we get there and we get it come 1 or 2 times, obviously we know this guy's going to come back no matter what. And it's a new ball game out there. It's a new way of people getting down for a fair amount of money. Now, this is a big amount of money. Obviously, there's probably maybe 1% of the world bets this type of money on a football game. But I like to see it. I like to see more of it. And yes, we are seeing more of it.
It's about consistency. There you go.
Absolutely. And Jimmy, again, how many years is it, Vinny, between the three of you guys?
137 and growing.
130 and growing.
Mm-hmm.
That's
you
right.
you added that one.
I did. It's growing. It's true.
It
We're
is
still
true.
here, right?
It's a factual statement. You guys are all still here. Also, by the way,
Thank you.
Also, Vinny,
Mhm.
we have to wish Jimmy a happy
Well, I was
birthday.
just going to say, we
Yeah.
were going to save it, but, today is Jimmy's finally old enough to be in a casino.
Oh,
Happy birthday, Jimmy.
Thank you very much. They did card me.
They did?
Yes.
they carded you. Good.
As they
They carded
should.
me, so
You,
I had to go
you don't need the
downtown.
fake ID anymore.
No,
you
well,
got all that hair. No wonder they
yeah,
carded you.
I got my license here. I just want to show people. Like, I do everything by the book. But here's another little funny thing.
Sounds
Not-
like a
not
name for
funny.
a show.
Let's go back 40 years. The limits on, forget whatever, but the limits on these bets would have probably been about 5,000 on the game, something like that. Because first of all, you had to first decide where you're at, who you're booking for, what's your normal play during the you're not. This to me is much better than one guy walking up to the counter and want to bet 250,000 on the game. Why? Because you don't want the size of the book that we have. You don't want one decision making your whole Saturday afternoon. Give me 10 of these all the time against the one, because obviously we got the juice going for us. I'm not giving any secrets away out there, but any bookmaker who understands this racket say a guy bet 10,000. You'd probably rather have 10 people betting 1,000 as one person betting 10,000 if that was your biggest bet for the day.
For sure.
Yeah, spread it around. That's it. Good.
Before we move back to the NFL, I do want to go over to baseball real quick.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Because you brought this up, and it's a good conversation to have with Jimmy also here as well. You guys have the tightest baseball lines. Forget just Nevada. Forget
Pretty
just
much
the whole
anywhere.
country.
Yeah.
He's everywhere
Pretty much
right now.
You're talking
for-
about the straddle too,
Yeah,
which is the
yeah.
difference
Exactly.
between the
Yeah.
favorite and the
Which is
the
advantageous to the player.
Yeah.
That's the way
Yeah.
we do things.
Mhm.
It's funny. I had lunch with Michael Gaughan today, and we were talking about baseball. And I said, Michael, yeah, we use a dime line. I mean, the percentage is low, but it goes for 7 months.
Right.
It's a long time.
A lot of volume.
And I'll tell you another good thing, seriously, about South Point. You can park right outside the door.
Right.
Guys
Free.
run in.
Free.
Free. Yeah,
Free.
thank you, Vinny.
Yes.
Yeah, like I said, Jackie Gaughan would go crazy. Guys were charging for parking in this town. But you park right out here free. You run in, you make a bet. Listen, you want to stay, God bless you. We got all kind of stuff to make you stay. But if you don't, you can make your bets and leave. We got the best straddle in town. And our baseball business over the course of 7 months is fantastic.
And the other thing about the baseball, to me, the baseball is a pain in the ass. I mean, I don't like to watch it. I just like to see who we need, then go from there and get the finals. But here is why I always thought it was on my side. Why was that? When they bet you baseball, you can't get middled. You're either, you're gonna move the line or whatever, but you can only fall. So you can get off of how much you want with the baseball, even though if it's down to 2.5% of your win, at least you went from a $30,000 decision down to 20. You can do. Chris may do it at times, may not do it, but just remember this: you can't get middled on the baseball game. So it's another way out to put yourself in a spot you want to be in. And Chris and Vinny, and obviously when I was doing it also in full time all the time, it's like you always had that in the back of your mind. You knew that if you wanted to get something off, it wasn't hard. If you were taking +6, then okay, now it's +4. If you want to take whatever you want, 5,000, 10,000, whatever.
Sure.
It has to be run properly, and obviously the two guys I'm looking at run it properly, and that's where we go from there.
Chris, for these series prices, Vinny and I touched on it a little bit yesterday. You also have the exactas for the World Series as well, which is a bet that I always love seeing out there as well. I would imagine that the Dodgers will be the most public team though through this division series, probably.
Yeah, they probably are, but I mean, Atlanta's
really good.
Atlanta's really good. Yeah, I mean, we're the Dodgers. Yeah, they play right down the street, so we're going to get a lot of that California money. But boy, this Atlanta team, I mean, I think they're the best team. I guess we'll find out in a couple weeks, but I think they're the best team, and a lot of guys agree with me that right now Yeah, they're the shortest price, and I think deservedly so.
Public is all over. Here's your three-teamer. Braves, Astros, Dodgers.
Yeah.
For game one or series, Vinny?
No, in game one.
Well, I think for the last 7 months.
And then
for the last
7 months. I mean, pick a day.
Yeah, exactly. A day that ends in Y.
It's not just tomorrow.
And sometimes you might root for something, maybe it's not the biggest decision, but you want them to play the Dodgers on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, which means it brings more people in. You know, at least we can bring. I'd rather see half of the house sitting as opposed to like having the better game. But I know Chris is nodding his head, but I still give me something Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to like jack up the handle maybe 15, 20%. And you're right. No matter what, we're gonna be rooting against the Dodgers. That's the way it is. Koufax is not in the bullpen.
No, he's not. No.
Or Drysdale.
Or Dryer.
I will say I said this to Vinny yesterday. This is not a cakewalk for the Dodgers in this first round series against Arizona.
No,
because
they played great.
Arizona's starting pitching matches up pretty well with the Dodgers. Dodgers, look, those three guys have been awesome this year, especially Betts and Freeman, who are MVP candidates every single year. But this is not going to be an easy go for the Dodgers. And as I told Vinny yesterday, I like the Phillies to upset Atlanta outright.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do.
You like the Phillies and the Orioles?
I do.
In the series.
I do. The unconventional I-95 Bowl.
And you like the Phillies to win it,
I
right?
do.
At 30-1.
With that
exacta.
What's the exacta pay? You got
30, right?
30.
30?
Yeah.
Phillies to beat the Orioles?
He's got it right there. There it is. 30.
I have a few Philly futures as high as 20-1 this year.
Okay.
So
That's good.
We're,
Good
we're,
for you.
We're
By the way,
hoping those get home.
perception is reality to a lot of folks, and we talk about, so the Dodgers are up to 2-1. I think they'll probably go through to 2-1. That is the last game tomorrow. It's the primetime game. So the way we talk about rollover in the college football and in the pro football, you're going to see that as well in the baseball today. They opened $1.90, and I think the reason I say perception is reality is because of the way they handled Arizona during the season. But again,
100%.
the postseason is different, and I think it helps Arizona the fact that they have been in their rhythm. Sometimes the bye doesn't help teams.
Didn't help last year.
It didn't help the Braves last year.
Didn't help the Dodgers either.
Right?
They lost as well in the best of five.
We'll see what happens there.
So I like it in this side of the coin where obviously I'm pointing to Chris because obviously he runs the joint. He puts us in good positions. Doesn't mean we win them all, but that's the other thing. If you're in a good spot and go 50-50 in a good spot, you'll make a lot of money. Again, not that I have to blow his horn, but like he's been doing his entire life also. And I like to walk by, just talk for a minute or two and see what's going on. But then when you look at the finals with the future book, the guy puts you where you want to be if it's your money.
No, we're in good shape with the futures, too.
Yeah.
Jimmy, before we let you go.
Yes, sir.
We have to put this up. You showed us this before the show because the folks in Pittsburgh are not happy with Matt Canada.
Yeah.
And there you go.
That's the bridge going to Trafford.
Yep.
You see to the left a little bit, that was the Mellon Bank building. They blew that up about 5 years ago. And you can see right behind the thing a little bit, you see a little half of a white building was an apartment house. That's where me and Sonny and my mother and father lived for like 8 years. That's right on Cabot Avenue. I mean, look at that Metropolis. Is that what they call it?
Metropolis.
Metropolis, yeah.
I mean, look at this picture. I mean, I'll sell it to you if we got to start at 8,000.
And the bridge is going over what?
And the bridge is going Turtle Creek.
Going over Turtle Creek. Going over Turtle Creek.
And the other side of that billboard says, "We love you, Jimmy."
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
Now, wait, if you go up there to the top, you hit the park, and then you make a left-hand turn, walk 3 blocks, and where are you at? The Polish Hall.
There we go.
You drink all night. See you guys later. Have fun.
Jimmy Vaccaro, everyone. We're gonna keep this rolling like Jimmy stroll on across
There he
here
goes.
as always. There he goes.
That's it.
There he goes.
Signature. Absolute signature.
Absolutely.
One of a kind.
One of a kind for sure. All right, let's get back into the NFL. Oh, okay.
I'll be out in a minute.
Let's go back to the NFL here real quick, guys. AFC South, Chris. This matchup in Indianapolis, Colts and the Titans for this one. I'll say this with Indianapolis. They showed a heck of a lot of resolve last week.
Mm-hmm.
They're down 23-0. They force overtime. They had a shot to win at the end of regulation and then had the quickest 3-and-out in the history of mankind. But regardless, really good result for a team that I did not think was going to be particularly good this year. They're 2-2. They seem to have hired the right coach. They seem to have gotten the right quarterback for said coach. But yet this week it's been all about the Titans in the betting market here, Chris.
I'm looking at my charts here. They took +1, pick'em, -1, -1.5, and -2. I guess I'm going to be rooting for the Colts tomorrow or on Sunday. But you're right, though. It looks like they have the right coach. Richardson, I had big question marks about him. Mostly not his talent, but his total lack of experience.
Yeah.
I think the kid has a chance to be good because I think he does have the right coach. He figures to get nothing but better at this point. But again, we're a long way to go. So many of these quarterbacks get ruined by bad coaching, a bad situation from whether it's a general manager, ownership, whatever. But so far, so good. But I'll definitely be rooting for him pretty hard come Sunday.
Jonathan Taylor returned to practice this week. I don't know if we're going to see him this week, though. I think if it's announced that he's going to play, then I think we'll see some. We'll probably see some Colts money, Chris, at that point. Yeah, it looks. I had another team though that's who again from a early or preseason power rating side they've performed well, and another team that battles. So give them credit there. And I say teams battle. Look, you look at teams. Look at Denver. I mean, there's disharmony there, right? I mean, so not that they're not. Trying to win games, but who's in sync? And I think that's a reflection.
Well, that's
the
thing,
coaches,
Vinny.
right?
Every guy out there is playing for
their
job.
job. Yeah.
But are you playing for the guy next to you? That's you're talking about being in sync.
Right.
That's part of being in sync.
100%.
You're playing your best, but
right.
You're doing what's best for the team.
See, if you're successful, I'm
true.
successful, and vice versa. And that's not always that. So it's well said.
I'm a little. There are offensive line injuries for Indianapolis. That's really the biggest reason that this line has moved the way it has.
People are paying more attention to that.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that people are aggressively betting Tennessee as much as they have here. Titans. Look, last week more had to do with Cincinnati more than it had to do with the Titans. The Bengals are broken right now, and
Joe
Burrow is not healthy.
No,
that did not have to do with Tennessee last week. That was more that the Bengals are a broken football team and can't stop the run. That's why Henry looked like himself last week. If this thing somehow touches 3, I will have to beat the blink of the eye there, Vinny, and end up on Indianapolis here if this somehow gets to 3, because I think that's at that point
hit
it's
that
like,
number.
All right, good enough for there. All right, the New York Giants are not at home this week. That's good because they've been outscored 64-3 at home this year.
They were going to be at home, but they got run out of town.
Yes, they are in Miami. There will be a bunch of Giants fans at that game in Miami, as we would expect. But, Chris, Miami's coming off getting throttled by Buffalo. And they're still 3-1. They're still one of the better teams in the league. You opened 9.5 before we saw the Giants embarrass themselves on Monday night against the Seahawks. And it's all the way up to 12.5 on the Miami Dolphins right now.
With money.
Yeah.
With money. Although after the 9.5, I think we opened at 11.
Reopen 11, yes.
Yeah, we reopened 11. Yeah. I keep thinking of my dear old Uncle Jack. He would say, Chris, no team's as good as they looked last week. No team's as bad as they looked last week either. And I keep thinking of the perfect example would be Miami. 2 weeks ago, they put 70 on the board. They got throttled by Buffalo last week. Do they come back? Yeah, probably. But do the Giants have anything in the tank? I don't want to say anything left in the tank because they never had it in the first place.
They never put it out there.
Yeah, do they have anything in the tank? And if they listen, it's a mountain to climb. 12, and keep talking about diminishing returns. I don't know. I mean, this number's getting up there. If they have any fortitude whatsoever, they're going to show up and I don't know about win the game, but they should cover this number. Listen, if I was out there playing, I'd never lay double digits in an NFL game, but I would be tempted to play the Giants here. Certainly if I got the 13, and I think they will get there.
Yeah, I think Chris is right. I think it does touch 13. I think that's going to be now. Barkley's status for the Giants is key here, right? So
same sort of deals last week. Still for Saquon.
Exactly, probably a game time decision. But it's not going to shock me if this game touches 13 at all. Again, this is a big teaser game by the public and in favor of the Dolphins.
Total's also been hit to the under here, Chris. Total's been hit to the under down to
47,
7.5.
49.5 down to 47.
Yeah, so you peaked at 50 when you reopened on Tuesday as well. So people have been taking this under. That I don't know if I necessarily agree with. I know the Giants' offense has looked awful, but they haven't shown the ability to stop anyone either.
I think as the number goes up, then the total will.
Yeah, I mean this will. I would imagine the total will get hit to the over on Sunday morning, I should say. And I agree with you both that this will touch 13, at least for a little bit longer than a blink.
Yeah,
on 13.
Yeah, we'll we'll need a few blinks.
Yeah, let's go to Foxborough next. The Patriots. These are not your Brady Patriots anymore. These are more like your pre-Belichick Brady era Patriots at this point. But they are favored in this game still. Open 2, down to 1. There are just a collection of bad injuries on the New England defensive side. Judon is out for an extended period of time. Christian Gonzalez, the star corner rookie out of Oregon, who's been great through the first 4 weeks. His season is over with a shoulder injury. Total's 39 on this one. It's just a matter of, do you trust Derek Carr on the road at this point?
Who's not 100%.
Who's not 100%, correct, and did not play well last week with the injury he has.
Well, you talk about, it's not necessarily a good thing for a team to have 2 quarterbacks. It appears that don't the Patriots really have that now between Jones and Zappi?
I think the Patriots have no quarterbacks.
Right?
I think that.
That's if you have 2 quarterbers, you have none, right? That's of course.
I think you're stretching on calling them 2.
So there you go. So, look, and their injuries, particularly defensively in their secondary, they're making trades this week and trying to get that defense sorted out. But not that the Saints are an offensive juggernaut, but again, Patriots can't score points.
I would want nothing to do with this game. By the way, the quarterback I was thinking about, Tony Eason.
He was he was a quarterback when they made the Super Bowl.
They made the
right?
Drafted in front of Dan Marino.
Yeah, not great.
He was a quarterback against the Bears.
Maybe not a good choice
in that Super Bowl.
He started against the Bears. Of course, Grogan came in quickly after Eason blew. Eason couldn't handle that pass rush. Not that Grogan could either. But
no one could that year.
Marino did. Marino beat him.
That was the only loss.
Didn't Patriots score first in that game?
Patriots scored first in that game.
Yeah. All right. Flashback. Bookie flashback.
I have a story about that in my book that's coming out. We'll pump that when it's coming out.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's go to the next one. The AFC North matchup that is usually a very physical game. Pittsburgh and Baltimore. And in Pittsburgh for this one, Chris, Kenny Pickett looks like he is going to go.
Yeah.
And it has not moved the line one bit.
I don't know how much that means. Not much, evidently.
Pittsburgh's a 4-point dog at home in this one.
So I'm doing my numbers, and I like to do my numbers. I don't want to know what anybody else made anything, So I made my numbers. I'm looking through, and oh my God, I got the Ravens a 3.5-point favorite at Pittsburgh. I'm thinking that's got to be wrong. I got to be nuts. And I looked, it's either 3.5 or 4. So right. No, I was right on. Listen, everybody knows I'm a Pittsburgh guy. I'll be rooting for the Steelers, but I have no confidence right now. And you saw that sign that we played when Jimmy was exiting. You got to fire Canada. I mean, their offense has no creativity whatsoever. And I mean, when they had the 4th and 1 and he ran it out of shotgun, I might have fired him as soon as he got to the sideline there. That was just a ridiculous call.
He got his quarterback hurt on top of it.
He got his quarterback hurt on top of it. I mean, it's just a horrible call. But anyway, I think the number's about right. I kind of think the Steelers will show up. So gun to my head, I would play the Steelers, but not with a whole lot of confidence here. But these games are always really close. Total's 38. Tells you right there's going to be a low-scoring game. I think I would take the underdog Steelers at home here, but I think not going crazy.
We touched 4.5 at one point.
We did.
So that was definitely a take. Both teams banged up, and this is always a physical matchup too. So you want to pay actually attention to how they come out of this game looking ahead, because typically after the week after these two meet, the following week they're still pretty black and blue. But I think the Steelers, last week was a disappointment if you were a Steeler fan. I mean, they had an opportunity to come out of that game 3-1, especially after what they did here in Las Vegas the week before. But they were, let me tell you something, they were completely outplayed from start to finish last week. And again, credit the Texans.
That was one where the Texans, again, we talked about it last Sunday. I thought the Steelers were getting cheap by the time that game kicked, and no, they were not. They were the completely wrong side in that game against Houston.
By the way, let me say, if the Ravens come out of this game, win and come out of this game looking good, I think they got to be the second choice in the AFC. Well, I don't know. That might,
I would say still third.
Yeah, so you got the Chiefs and Bills. I mean, I wouldn't shuttle Miami too far down there yet either. But I think right now, and we got a long way to go. We got a lot of football yet to be played. I mean, this is first weekend in October. But I think you got to maybe look to them if you can find a good futures price on them.
I know this will sound weird because again, this goes back to the Bengals being broken right now. I don't think the Ravens have played a good offense yet in their 4 games. They played Houston in week 1 with Stroud when they were still trying to figure it out without the tackles. They played Cincinnati, where Cincinnati's broken right now. Played the Colts. They lost that game.
Put up points.
They put 22 on them. And they played DTR last week, who was clearly not ready to play an NFL regular season game.
Right.
And this week, and you know what? It's going to continue for Baltimore. They played Pittsburgh this week with a banged-up Pickett. So who knows what we're getting out of that. They play Tennessee next week, where Tannehill's not any good. The first good quarterback they see is Jared Goff. What a statement I just made there. But it's true. That's the first good quarterback that they'll see.
And a team that can score points.
And a team that can score. So I agree with you. Baltimore right now is your 4th favorite in the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see a little bit more from them, even though, again, they're well coached. They have a great quarterback. And the defense seems to be in good standards yet again after losing those standards for a little bit.
But they're also, in a position. They're doing it, handling injuries, but it's going to be more difficult to handle those injuries
against better teams. Yeah, exactly. All right, there are these broken Bengals. Let's go there. They're in Arizona. Chris, these teams are both 1-3.
Yeah.
And right now, to me, the Cardinals, I know what I'm getting more out of the Cardinals than I know what I'm getting out of the Bengals at this point, which is kind of an amazing state of affairs for what had happened to the Cincinnati team. Chris, when he opened at 4, got as high as 4.5, and it sat at 3 for 4 days now.
Yeah, I mean, I opened it, I think it was a little bit under the market when I opened it.
It was 4.5 mostly, yeah.
Yeah, I opened at 4. I made the number 3 myself, so I think 3 right now is really a good number. But I'll tell you, the way Joe Burrow's played, I really don't want much to do with Cincinnati. I mean, he's got to kind of show you something. It's almost like, sort of on a lesser scale, like Georgia. You're waiting for them because I think Burrow is among the absolute best quarterbacks in this league.
I agree.
And, man, if I had a choice of a healthy Burrow, other than Mahomes, I don't know how many guys I would pick over him. I mean, he's that good. But right now he's not healthy. I mean, not healthy, just doesn't look right. And Josh Dobbs, we knew he was a rocket scientist. We didn't know he could play football like this.
He's looked totally fine so far through 4 weeks.
He looks terrific.
Yeah.
I think, gun to my head, I would probably take the Cardinals in this spot just because don't know what I'm getting out of Cincinnati.
Does it go back up is the question.
It shouldn't.
Look, I don't know if it does. A healthy Burrow, and listen, if things are right with Cincinnati, they're 6 in this game. Right?
I was going to say at least 4.5, so, at least. Yeah.
I mean, but it starts with Burrow and it goes from there in a ripple effect. And by the way, their defense has been awful too.
They were terrible last week. Couldn't stop the run.
We've seen the Cardinals with the ability to score. So, and this total's up a couple of points, 2.5, 3 points off the opener. Now sitting at 44.5. So, it's right now. It's all about the home dog and the over.
If Cincinnati is going to make anything out of this season, it starts this week. They have to handle their business as a small favorite on the road against the team that we all had power rated 32 coming into the year.
Yeah.
They're not 32 anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they were 32 coming into the year.
And that's where I had them. I'm not ashamed to admit.
Yeah, I think most people had them at 32. And if you lose this game and you're 1-4, you're cooked. That's just the way it is. If you're 1-4, you're not coming back from it. And with a schedule that on the back end for Cincinnati, after this week, their next 3 games are the Seahawks, at the Niners, and the Bills.
Bills, right?
Good luck.
Yeah.
If you're 1-4 going into that stretch.
Mm-hmm.
So it is
Wow, you might be looking at 1-7.
Yeah, no, it's
and
I
then crisscrossing the country on top of it.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
It's Seattle at home, then the bye week, then the Niners, then Buffalo.
Mhm.
Gotta have it. It's again, I don't want to go with the cliche of must win because they're trying to win all of them. But if they lose this game, it might be lights out for the Bengals in 2023, which would be as big of a disappointment as we can remember going into a regular season with a team that a lot of smart people picked to win the whole thing.
Oh yeah,
this year.
I got a lot of money on them in the future.
Let's go a little due west from Arizona. Let's go to L.A. SoFi. Hey, Cooper Kupp looks like he's going to play for the first time this year for the L.A. Rams. And the Rams taking on an injury-riddled Philadelphia defense here, Chris. You opened 4.5 on the Birds, down to 4. Total just going up, 47 to 48 to 49.5 to 50 to 50.5 on this one.
Right now, it's my second biggest handle of the week. The Niners and Cowboys being number one. Right now, a lot of opinions, a lot of play on this game. I think the number's great. I made the game 4, so anywhere they want to take me on this one, I'm willing to go. But this looks like a lot of opinions on this one, and you have Kupp's back and Stafford's healthy. I think that this is, the Rams could easily win this game. But, I mean, Philly, what are they, 4-0 and not looking like a 4-0 team. But I think this should be a really good matchup. And, like I said, wherever they take me number-wise, I'm willing to be there, and that'd be just fine.
Stafford, he practically had to carry him last week toward the end of that game.
He's not even on the injury
look at him
report
talk
this
about
week.
battling and being a warrior. Listen, we know there'll be plenty of Eagles fans there, but the 4.5 was definitely a take by professionals. And I get it. I mean, this team they can score points, and when you show the ability that you're able to score points, then if it comes down to that last possession, or the last part of the fourth quarter, then you're alive. So, yeah, no real surprise that they took the number here.
Tricky game for Philadelphia. Tricky game here, where this Ram team, they're 2-2. They've looked really bad against Cincinnati in Week 3. They looked really good early against the Colts. Almost blew it. Found a way to get it done in overtime.
Only lost by Seattle this year. But
the Rams
only lost by
Seattle.
Second half.
Yeah, totally destroyed them in their building, which is a hard place to play. Not an easy spot for Philadelphia here.
Yeah. Listen, you get back to the Rams. Good coach, good quarterback.
Exactly.
That's always going to keep you in a game.
Even with a bad offensive line, those guys, and we kind of forgot that. A lot of people forgot how good Sean McVay is because they had a down year last year. You know what? Stafford was not healthy at all. Of course, they're going to have a down year with John Wolford and Baker Mayfield off the street playing last year. And they played all right with Baker last year.
Baker did fine.
Yeah,
Baker did fine.
Baker's one of those guys I root for, for whatever reason.
And the Eagles still, I think, transitioning. Don't forget, both coordinators.
Yeah, definitely on the offensive side still,
right?
Vinny.
Offensive and defensive coordinators now with head coaching job. Well deserved. I mean, I'm just saying. And they're succeeding, but still adjustments, I think, on the part of the Eagles.
It's very strange the way we look at Philadelphia, where they're 4-0. They're 3-1 against the number, and it's like they're not right.
Yeah.
Which, boy, a lot of teams would take not being right if they were 4-0.
Those 3 wins against the number, we're all pretty lucky.
Oh, yeah, no, 100%. But, hey, look, Philly, 4-0. Not been perfect, but the record is perfect still for the Eagles. All right, let's go to Mile High. Denver hosting the New York Jets. Chris, you opened Denver 2, went to 2.5 during the show.
A little while ago.
And 43.5 up from 43 on this one. This is a game between 1 and 3 teams where the quarterbacks have Wilson as the last name, and neither of those quarterbacks are any good at this point in their careers.
I got to tell you, it looks like a lousy game. I can't wait to watch this one.
No, anything is in play in this game.
Yeah, I know. I think the drama in this one is fantastic. Yeah, we got a little bit of play on Denver. We wound up going to 2.5. I see a 2.5 with juice. Looks like Circa has 2.5 with juice. I see some juice in a couple other spots on the favorite. But that's okay. I'm willing to take whoever. I think I made the number 2, and that's fine. And they got a little bit of play on the over as well, which I kind of surprised, a little bit. But yeah, I it's funny. I can't wait to watch this game. I think it's going to be a fun watch.
Well, it's the Hackett revenge game now because Sean Payton decided to go crazy with his mouth during the offseason.
I think Sean Payton's really hurt his reputation so far this year.
I 100% agree.
He quoted he said that last year was the worst coaching job he ever saw.
And they look worse right now.
They look great, don't they?
You just don't say that, about your colleagues. And I know you're competitors, but you're not enemies. You're competitors.
So, look, 2.5. Will it go higher? Maybe. If it gets to 3, you'll see.
You'll take the Jets.
Jet money at 3.
This is a teaser leg for me on New York, up to 8.5. Perfect classic Stanford Wong teaser leg. It is winner of this game will have a chance to go on a little bit of a run. Losers 1-4, probably donezo for whoever loses this game if they go to 1-4, especially if it's the Jets because they play the Eagles next week, so they'll be 1-5.
And by the way, there's a lot being made about the Jets and Wilson and this. Let me tell you something. You know what? I think the biggest issue with the Jets has been so far, outside of that first game, their defense. The opposition has scored first in every Jet game. So for this vaunted defense, right, that everybody talked about, I got to tell you something. I think they're underperforming. And it's not just Wilson.
They're definitely underperforming early in games. So, the Jets and the Giants are the only two teams not to have a possession on offense without a lead so far.
That's right. Yeah.
There you go.
So
must be that stadium.
Yeah, no,
of course.
Something wrong with
what else could it be?
Something wrong with that $1 billion waste of money on that place for sure. All right, Chris, I'm very interested to hear you on this one because Minnesota opened a 5.5-point underdog here, and it has been a one-way ticket to Minnesota backing this week, down to 3.5 and 52.5. Chris, what's going on here?
I made the number 5.5. Yeah. So when it opened, I think it was right in line with everybody else. I mean, I could show you my sheet, 5.5.
Yeah.
I was stunned. I mean, it's been nothing but a flood. And by the way, we got a big money line play on the Vikings too from one of my biggest players. Okay, I guess we're going to really a gun to my head, and I'm going to have to root for Patrick Mahomes, so I'm going to have to do that.
I know you hate that.
I guess I'll root for Taylor Swift. I'll root for whoever, but I know I'm going to need the Chiefs. Well, right now, it certainly looks like I'm going to need the Chiefs. I don't see that one switching around. I might get a little more close to even by the time we kick off. But, yeah, it's been a flood of Viking money, and I, for the life of me, don't understand why.
I'm very confused by this one. Of all the moves this week in college and pro, this is the one move that I'm a little bit perplexed on why everyone is in a rush to bet Minnesota, because I don't think it's a bad spot, as some may think, for Kansas City. All right, you're playing back-to-back road games.
Yeah.
They're professionals. They're not going to get fatigued by this Kelsey Swift stuff. So
I would hope not.
I don't think so. It's very strange here, Vinny.
What's strange is when you look at it, this is the 5th game of the season. In most of the games, money's coming against the Chiefs. And we've never been at a loss for Chief money over the years. But if you look at it, Chris, this is not the first time this year that we've seen this, right? That the Raiders, I mean, they've come in against.
They bet Detroit in week 1.
Detroit, yeah.
The Kelsey injury played a role in that.
Sure, and Chris Jones.
Right? They bet the Jets last week.
Bet the
Jets.
Why the guys did? We're all over.
I mean, the pros have taken the points, and again, points are at a premium in the NFL.
I've seen this happen before with the pros a couple of times. Let's go to last year. They bet against TCU every freaking week. They might have gotten it all back against Georgia, but we don't pay per point. We just pay win or lose. But they bet against TCU every week. And I see this every once in a while. Remember me and our old friend Gil used to laugh. They take away your wise guy card if you didn't bet the Jaguars every week. And they just kept losing and losing and losing.
Right.
And they're betting against Kansas City every week this year. And if I got to root for the Chiefs again, I guess I'll root for them.
It's not a bad thing.
No, not a bad thing for you guys. I will, if this somehow gets to 3, and I don't think it would last even a blink, Vinny, but this would be Kansas City pretty easily.
It's an instant.
And at 3.5, Go ahead, Kirk Cousins, beat me. Beat me, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
That's all it'd be for me. And it's not like Minnesota
public,
Minnesota even played well last
By
week.
the
They
way,
won because of a defensive
They haven't
touchdown.
played well all year.
Exactly.
And there's talk of Cousins possibly being traded.
It's not
to
happening
the
now.
Jets or to the New England. I don't know if that plays anything into this at all, but I think the other part is this too. This is a 125 Pacific game, so what's rolling to it? I think the public will still come in on the Chiefs at some point.
Let's get to the game of the year so far in the NFL. Dallas at San Francisco, Sunday Night Football. Boy, what a dream. You get the best game of the first 5 weeks of the year in a primetime slot. So this is going to be a ridiculous handle game on the Niners and the boys. Chris, they have taken Dallas from 4 to 3.5. Total hasn't moved the whole week, sticking at 45.
Well, the guy came in that Jimmy showed us the tickets, and Ashley Eck back there. She always does my what ifs for me on the weekends. And I said, hey, Ash, I'll bet you $1 come post time. We're gonna need the Cowboys.
Okay.
She says, no, I don't want to bet because I know you're right. We're gonna need the Cowboys. I said, okay, yeah. So I was more than happy to take that bet. I think come Sunday night they'll come in strong on the 49ers. Mm-hmm. That's my hunch. They are the best team. They're better coached. Dare I say they're better quarterbacked? I think right now you probably got to say
There's a legitimate argument to be made.
Yeah.
For the first month of the season, that Brock Purdy's been one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL. As wild of a statement as that is, he has been very good for the first month.
This kid is pretty good. I mean, I like what I see out of him. And so I think they'll come back in on the Niners, and I think I'll probably close back to 4.
You know what makes Purdy so good is this is where coaching is a great example, I believe, of good coaching. And again, sometimes I think they get a little too complicated. But they have a system. They've devised a system for him, and he stays within the system.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, they have an extremely versatile group of weapons.
Yeah.
They've got wide receivers that can run the ball. They've got running backs that can receive the ball. McCaffrey, in my opinion, is probably the most impactful player to the number outside of a quarterback. Maybe the most impactful non-quarterback to the number. He is one of, if not the most important one. I mean, he's the second coming of Roger Craig. Chris, remember Roger Craig during all those great Niner Super Bowl years where he was as dangerous to receive the ball,
terrific receiver,
as rushing, and I see that with McCaffrey.
And the one thing I would say about the Niners too, they're the best run after catch team in the league, and part of that is the scheme. Now, Deebo Samuel's great, McCaffrey's great, Kittle's great, all those guys are great, but their scheme puts them in the right place. Yeah, listen, defense, a lot of it is playing in your lane, filling in the angles, doing all that stuff. They know how to play against that, and they put their guys in great opportunities to gain yards after the catch.
100%. I do like the Niners. I do like the Niners. I just think they are the best team. They are better coached, and in the end, you got the game at home. And until Dallas beats them, it's going to be on the Niners for me here. I'll be with the public on this one. I can tell you that when it's all
said. The public wins plenty of games.
Oh, I know.
I was just going to say that I know we're getting close to.
I know.
All right. Well, unless I'm following, I follow your instructions.
Well,
you're the host. You're the quarterback.
No, you.
Raiders just went to 1.5 on Monday night here at South Point. So.
I guess that's a Garoppolo move.
That's a
Garoppolo's in
reaction.
He's in, and I would imagine it won't stop at 1.5 by the time that game kicks.
It's up to 2 in other spots. And probably going higher.
Keep going.
We'll see. We'll have plenty to say about that on Sunday and Monday here on this show. Also, noon on Monday. New show. Frank Nicotero will be hosting. Show name to be determined. Right?
No, we haven't.
You have the name?
Punchline.
Oh, there we go. See, I wish I'd known that.
Frank's a comedian. And, he's been a host, radio host, and sports. He's not just a comedian. But he is among his many, many hats that he wears. But he's also hosted handicapping shows.
Punchline.
I
like
He's
it.
going to do it
That's
for
right.
us.
I like it. We want a big Rock'em Sock'em Robot graphic now, right?
Talk to Hans. He's devising something.
So be on the lookout. That's going to be noon Pacific on Monday.
Noon to 1 on Monday.
Noon to 1 on Monday. Frank Nicotero, Punchline, the show. And then we'll be back at 3 o'clock on Monday, as always. And Vinny, Alex White, and I, Saturday and Sunday, 8 tomorrow, 9 on Sunday. And, of course, our Football Friday, as always, 2 hours here at the South Point studio. For Chris Andrews, for Vinny Magliulo, I'm Jeff Parles. This has been Sports by the Book here at the South Point studio. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for the college football edition.